Hi there everyone, Josiah here with Womprat Creations with another scratch build for you guys. This time it is another one of my lovely shop infrastructure builds. These are some of my favorite builds and this one is long overdue. What I'm going to be doing this time is addressing my vinyl cutter station. This was an old workbench of mine that I made a long time ago, and it is crap. It's wobbly. It's way too tall. It just is not well suited for my vinyl cutter. It isn't made for the vinyl cutter. Like I said, it's an old workbench of mine that I wasn't really using anymore, and so I put my vinyl cutter on it. But I've had the vinyl cutter for long enough. I am in the new shop and I need to analyze the way that my workflows go and how I use the tools that I have. And because of that, I have realized that that is a terrible home for my vinyl cutter. So today I'm going to be making a custom built cart for my vinyl cutter. I know, I put everything on wheels, everything is a cart. That's how I think a shop should work. At least that's how I think my shop should work. But let's get into the build. I need to hit the table saw. All right, I have all of my pieces cut out and I don't have them all right here because this workbench isn't big enough for all of them, but that's okay because right now I need to give some more attention to the two sides of my cart. These are gonna be a little different than I normally do my carts in that the drawers on this, at least the top two of the three total drawers, are going to have a, how should I put it? They have a home-built slide incorporated into the design of the drawer. So I won't have to add any actual slides. I won't have to, yeah, it'll just save me a lot of work. Hopefully, if I can make it work, I've never done this before. But for that, I need to cut out some channels, two channels in my two sides. And for that, I'm going to use my router. So I need my T-square. Should probably get a clamp or two, and then I'll grab my my router. I got my rough shape done on the sides of the cart. You saw the slots that I put in with my router. That's where the drawers will slide into. And then I even added some little handles up at the top, and I used my palm sander to sand the edges down as much as possible. A palm sander is not the most ideal tool for that job, but it worked. Ideally, you would want to use like a router table. I could use the actual router, but it's a lot of work. It's really loud. My wife is asleep right now, so that wouldn't really work. So I went with the palm sander. They turned out fine. Now I can start getting to some assembly, and I'm really excited for that because I picked up a new toy. That's right, I got a pocket hole jig. If you are not familiar, this is a jig that allows you to drill pocket holes into a piece of wood. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second, don't worry, but I'm gonna try to fumble through a rough explanation of what a pocket hole is. So a pocket hole is a angled hole that you drill into a piece of wood. So you have a flat piece of wood here, and you drill into it at an angle so that when you go to put your screw in, you screw your screw into that hole at an angle, and then because of the angle of that, the head of the screw goes into the actual surface of the wood, and so it hides the screw. You don't have to worry about countersinking or anything like that, because that's kind of the whole point of the pocket hole. And it kind of helps guide your screw in when you're screwing two pieces of wood together. I know that's a really terrible description, but let me show you guys how it works. So you have, this pocket hole jig is by Craig. It was like 40 bucks for like a kit with a drill bit and just everything you could need for this. So it's not a bad deal, and I've tested this out a couple times already. It works really, really well. So if you're looking for one and you have 40 bucks to spend, Craig is not a bad option. But now on to the actual demonstration. This is the actual jig. You can adjust it to the size or the thickness of wood that you're using. Right now I'm using 3/4, so I have it set to 3/4. And then this one comes with a actual clamp for it. You could use any clamp that you have, but I went ahead and got the one that was made for this one. So you'll clamp this onto the piece of wood, and then on the edge, and then let's see, you just get it in right there. And then you take your drill and just drill into the holes. Now there are some pocket hole jigs that have two. There's two drill holes. There are some that have one. There's a lot of variants, but the idea is the same. You clamp it to your piece of wood, you drill in, and then you have this angled hole where you can insert or screw in a actual pocket hole screw. So now that we've gone through that, I can get on to, this is just a scrap piece of wood that I will hold on to because I will be using it for something else. But now I can actually bust out my two side pieces and start pre-drilling some pocket holes. This is looking really nice, and I gotta say I am loving this pocket hole jig. It takes a little bit more time to take the step to drill out the holes and then assemble it and screw it in place, but man, it's solid joints. I haven't used wood glue on any of this because it doesn't really need it. These are really solid joints. There's no wobble here. And it makes assembly really, really nice. I didn't have to use any kind of clamps or anything like that. I could just hold it in place, put in, you know, like 2 set screws on the sides of whatever the piece is that I'm assembling, and it stays put after that. And then I can put in the other screws as I need to. I'm really enjoying this. The cart itself is looking really nice. These handles that I made here are a good size for my fingers. I was worried that they were going to be a little thin, but this is shaping up really nice. Now I need to make a bunch of drawers. Well, 3 drawers. Alright guys, my vinyl cutting cart is done, and these shelves that have the bottom of the shelf extends past the walls of the shelf so that I can plug into those channels that I cut into the sides. That is super nice. I can pull it out and not have it fall down, or it's not moving around like crazy inside of the cavity, and does need a little bit of I think I need to go through there and clear out those channels just a little more, because I didn't sand inside of those channels, so I might want to take a file and clean those up just a little bit. But I mean, for the most part, they're sliding in and out pretty well, and really that'll get better with use. But I'm actually really happy with how this came out. It's really sturdy. It's about the right size. It's not oversized to where it's taking up way too much room for what its actual purpose is. Takes up just the right amount of room. It's just big enough for the vinyl cutter and a few different drawers for different attachments and cutting mats and vinyl and stuff like that. So yeah, everything fits in the cart, which is the most important thing. And it's not wobbly, which was my #1 problem with the old workbench that I had this on originally. It was wobbly and not stable, and it just took up way too much room for the purpose it was actually serving. So now I have effectively reduced the footprint of my existing tools, therefore making space for new tools, which, by the way, I also did add to in this video. The pocket hole jig is a new favorite of mine. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now. That was awesome. I loved using it. It made assembling this a breeze. I am gonna be using that a lot going forward. So I'm very happy with that purchase. Thank you guys for turning into another scratch build. A important announcement on this and really all other shop infrastructure builds going forward, and even some of the past ones. From now on, all of my shop infrastructure builds, such as, any tool cart that I make, or even the Star Wars camera cart that I made in the old shop, the 3D models for those are on Patreon now. So if you are, it depends on what tier you're in, but if you're in 2 of the 3 tiers that we currently have on Patreon, you will get access to all of those models. And anytime that I design a new shop infrastructure build, those will be added to the Patreon files. So right now there is my simple workbench that I usually have in front of me here. I moved it so that you guys can see this. The camera cart, of course, this new vinyl cutting cart, and even the tool cart. Those are all files that are going to be on the Patreon, available to patrons on our Patreon. Now, speaking of Patreon, Patreon is a great way for you guys to help support the channel, and for me to give you guys some cool stuff in return, like these new files, as a thank you for supporting the channel. Now, I would encourage you to go check it out. You don't have to join it. It's fine if you don't, but go check it out. If you don't go check it out, I am going to take a trip to Endor, gather up a handful of Ewoks, like 4 or 5 Ewoks. I'll gather up, I'll tie them to a big stick and roast them over an open fire under the beautiful starry skies of an Endor night. And I'll slowly roast them over a few hours so that the meat is nice and tender. And then me and the other Ewoks of the village will have a wonderful feast under what I'm assuming is a warm, slightly breezy, beautiful night on Endor under the stars. So go check out the Patreon. I don't want to do that to poor innocent Ewoks, and I don't think you want that either. So go check out the Patreon. Thank you guys for all of the support that you guys have given the channel. I really, really appreciate that, both on here on YouTube and over on Instagram. Make sure you guys check out all of those things. All of the links will be down in the description. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for future builds, or something that you that I've kind of hit on, but maybe you want a little more in-depth discussion about that. Let me know in the comments. I'm always checking those out. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Hey, look at you, you overachiever you. You watched that entire video and you deserve something awesome in return. You can head over to wompratcreations.com. The link will be down in the description, and you can pick yourself up some awesome Womprat Creations merch, just like this original Only You Can Prevent Imperial Invasions Ewok t-shirt. Thanks, guys.
517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control. 316, report to control. 5-3 to upper bay door. 53 to upper bay door.